pricing model is a little bit different. It's more streamlined because it's a percent plus an amount. There's no setup fee. There's no loading fee. There's no monthly maintenance fee. So there's not a lot of those hidden fees. Not hidden fees, but a lot of the application fees that goes into processing, because we're a different kind of processor. So, but the idea is that we still have risk. So. Depending on the volume, we typically talk to merchants, if you bring in this volume, your rate will be at this. If after 3 months your volume increased and your chargeback ratio is good, then we can reduce it as well. So we can talk more with the customer, because we have a base price, and we can play around with the price that we offer to our merchants. In terms of the reserves, we still have to take reserves, because especially for high-risk merchants, we want to make sure that if anything went wrong, we still have a reserve in place that we can deal with. And the idea is that we also have the resolution center. So if there's anything that went wrong with the customers and the customer is complaining, we can work closely with the merchant and the customer to see what we can do. How can we make the customer happy while still making sure that the merchant was not at fault. So we are also involved in that process, and we have the reserves to kind of make sure that we can maintain this properly. What we try to do is to handle all the issues ourselves first, before going to the processors and the bank, because as the more that we can handle, let's say, internal issues, the more we are in control of what's going on in there. We don't expose our risk to outside. So.
And then the final one, and then we'll open up to questions if anyone has any. I mean, inevitably, things can go wrong. Your chargeback ratios can go skyrocketing. You can have a fulfillment issue. You can have a call center issue. When things do go wrong, what's the best way to walk away from the crash? I mean, how would you say a merchant should go about talking with their processor about winding down a mid, shutting down a mid, or if you have a potential spike, oh gosh, our bottles didn't ship for 2 weeks, we might have a spike. Is this something you should be proactive about, or how do you guys handle what I call crash landing a mid? And Ryan, you can go ahead and start off.
We've had several instances like this where we've seen some bad traffic come through, or we've seen some type of a hiccup with fulfillment and they shipped out the wrong product, or they just didn't ship out at all. Anytime we bring this up to the processor and we let them know, we communicate what happened, it's always to everybody's advantage. They're going to watch it, they're going to see what happened, but at least now they know what to expect to some degree of what's going to occur, instead of just something blindly hitting the processor. And so in those cases, communication is key. In a scenario where you're just going to start winding down that mid, maybe you're shutting down the campaign, or you just realize you're not going to be able to get control of the chargebacks, again, it doesn't hurt to reach out to the processor and say, hey, this mid I'm just going to wind down. What do you suggest we do? Work with your processor. They'll tell you what they feel is best to wind that down. I know people will have differing opinions on the bank account. I always say, leave that bank account open. It's going to hurt for a bit, but let that mid just start slowly winding itself down. The problem that a lot of people do is they're like, well, I don't want to get hit with anything, so they go and they shut that bank account down. Problem is that causes a lot of problems, not only on our side as an agent, but on the processor side, and it can also roll down into whoever sent that application. They can start getting calls from the processor. There's going to be some heat put on them as well, so I certainly don't recommend doing that, but I see it happen a lot. So I just say communication is key. Work with your agent, work with your processor, let them know what's going on, let them know what you're planning on doing on that, and then wind it down through communication.
Kind of the same line, Suresh. What do you think, when you get told that it's going to be time, you've done the chargeback reduction plan, you've checked your box to get your bonus 30 days, if they know they're getting shut down, kind of put a different spin on it. If you're going to get shut down, you're going to lose your mids. What is the best way to pull a ripcord there? Do you try to wind it down and negotiate?
We had a client actually who had a similar situation. 2 weeks, they didn't have the inventory. Something went wrong during Christmas time. They had no inventory at all. So they came back to us and said, what do we do? So I said, we need to create a disaster recovery plan. The first thing is actually, I want you to call the processor and let them know this happened. And then what we did was actually, we told the customer service company that every customer who's calling in about this particular order, you tell them actually we lost the inventory, we couldn't deliver it, so we're going to give a refund. We told them, don't do any rebuttals on these clients. We don't want you to do anything. And then the third thing what we did was, we sent a massive email to everyone. So we sent an email saying, we apologize, this has happened, this has never happened, but if you opt in to get a refund, then we'll be happy to do it. If you don't opt in, actually, we are okay with it, so please let us know what we can do. And then we canceled all the recurring billing for all these customers. So we were anticipating the chargeback is going to hit around like 8 to 10% for that particular med. But we found that it was actually about 4.5 to 6%. That was the range they had. It's because of the massive email that we spent. And also we gave a very clear action plan to the processor as well. We told them these are all the action steps we are taking. We are never going to actually ask them to keep the product. We are issuing a full refund. We have sent an email. We are expecting people to respond so that we can issue. So there are a lot of people who said, I don't want the product, give me a refund. So we were closely monitoring it. So when those things happen, we can actually take actions, and the processors are very supportive too. So sometimes actually depending on how their portfolio looks, they're willing to work with you on it. So that's the plan we took, and we were successful.
Perfect. All right, well, anyone else have any processing, merchant related questions? Everyone have as many minutes as they need, plenty of cap, no chargeback issues? Nothing? All right, thanks guys.
Thank you.
Everyone has plenty of cap. The minutes are easy, right? You've got plenty of minutes, talk to Kara, she's got plenty of traffic, she'll fill it up or blow up your